Hello, juicers. This is Edward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Spirit Juice No Additives. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm coming on here today to talk about the Kevin Hunter's interview with the West Side Gazette. I was watching Kempire, um, and I was listening to this broadcast about this article called Hunted, the King Behind the Purple Chair of Power from the Williams show. And I was kind of surprised that I kind of knew the story, before, he was actually telling the story or reading the article. I kind of knew what Kevin Hunter was going to say about the whole Wendy Williams show. And it was indicative of someone that have addiction. And of course, you know that I'm a counselor. I got my degree in chemical dependency counseling. And just sad to say that he's on point with what he's saying. And it's believable. It's like aligned with dealing with addictive behaviors in other people and significant others. Uh, Wendy has been very open about her addiction with cocaine and also alcohol. And what Kevin is describing is the issues that someone involved in a relationship or marriage with someone that have an addiction, it will fall right in line. Okay. He talked about having to get home before the spouse is too drunk to get up for the next day. With addiction, if you're drinking or drugging, you're gonna do it all night if you can. And with her resources, she can do it all night. And it was just everything that Kevin can do just to have her propped up on that show the next day. It's a lot of work dealing with someone that has an addiction. It's a lot of work because it's self-destructive, it's obsessive to the extent where that's all they think about. That's all that they think. If it don't have anything to do with drinking and drugging, they don't want to hear about it. And we know that because, who don't have a family member that's struggling with addiction? If you allow yourself to learn and be exposed to in a very knowledgeable way, you will see how it works. This person is practically uncontrollable because the obsession for drugs and alcohol is always there. They live with it all day, every day. And the spouse, therefore, has to do the same. Now, Wendy was in a very lucrative position on TV. She had a very successful show. But the work that it took behind the scenes is enormous because just Wendy by herself, we seen what happened. Towards the end, the show just totally fell apart, which is what came out of this article, which is what Kevin said in the article, is that after he left, the show just went down the drain. And it did. Wendy's problems and addiction kind of overwhelmed her. She wasn't able to keep control of self. And she wasn't at the same time letting other people come in. She didn't have a Kevin Hunter to make her, because that's what it takes. Put that down. You got to go. You got a show tomorrow. Collect all the stuff. Put it somewhere where she can't have access to it. Go to bed so we can get you up tomorrow so we can do this show. Wendy had a commitment that she couldn't keep on her own. And yes, I believe Kevin was the king behind the purple chair. He doesn't come across as a stupid guy. He done played this thing with Wendy to a T. Now he's reaping what he sold because he didn't go about it the right way. He's saying that Wendy asked him to stay. I believe it. I believe it because she knew she couldn't do it on her own. And without the force and power of Kevin behind her and making her do things that she wouldn't otherwise do because she's in an addiction, a full-fledged addiction. Yeah, I believe that she asked him to stay because she knew the success of the show came with Kevin being at the forefront and making her do what she can do for herself. I believe it. She said also in the article, Kevin says that his son even said they should have got a divorce. I think Kevin wanted to, be divorced a long time before it came about. He wasn't in these streets acting the way he was, being disrespectful the way he was, expecting Wendy to not do anything. He knows his wife better than anybody. But what it was is what tipped the scales is when he got her pregnant. He says in the article that Wendy caught them together years before they divorced. He asked her when she caught him, should we get a divorce? And Wendy said, no, I believe it. She knew what Kevin Hunter brought to the table. He might have not did it in the best way. He might have disrespected her. But it's frustrating and stressful to deal with addict, especially when there's so much is at stake. She's contractually obligated to put that show together on a daily basis and show up for it and show out for it. So it's not an option of I'm going to stay in bed and I'm not going today. No, you got to go. Her absences from the show has to be planned. You just can't wake up like we do and call in and say, I ain't coming today, find me a replacement. No, that's not how it works. She had to get up every day and show up for that show. And Kevin kept her on the straight and narrow. And she knew that was her mainstay. That was her strong tower. That was the backing, that she needed to keep her afloat and make the money that she made and have the successful show that she did. But yeah, she asked him to stay. I believe it. Wendy has been dealing with addiction for years, back when she was doing radio. And she said that. She was very open about that. And a person that is in a full-fledged addiction, it never goes away. It's always with you every second of every day. You're always an addict. Once an addict, you're always an addict. You might have bouts of recovery and abstinence, but that does not negate that you have that urge and craving that sometimes you got to fight every minute of every day and every day of every year, just to keep that at bay, to keep those cravings at bay. But you always are going to, at certain points in your life, have to deal with being addicted. It never goes away. It's always there. So Kevin kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective, and I believed every bit of what he was saying because I have experience in that field, and I have experience as an addict. I'm an addict. I mean, I'm gonna always be an addict. I might not be using now, but I'm always aware of the fact of who I am, and I'm just one drink away or one drug away from being full-fledged in the addiction. That's why I became a counselor, so I can help others, with their recovery efforts. But yeah, it just seems like Wendy didn't want her business all out in the street as well. I'm sure her workers, the people that help put the show together on a daily basis, kind of knew what she was struggling with, but I don't think it came out of her mouth. I mean, I don't think it's a lot she hid from them because that's what addicts do. We try to, manage our own lives, and we insist, we be in denial half the time, thinking that we could do something that we can't do because our addiction has gotten the best of us. So I believe Kevin. I believe he was the power behind the purple chair, because definitely Wendy wasn't. Wendy was the talent, but she wasn't the power. On her good days, when Kevin is effective, and it seemed like he was for many years, in bringing her into fruition as far as the reality of the obligation that they had before them, yes, it was Kevin. Yep. So I could have just wrote that article myself. I mean, I didn't have to even hear Kevin's side of it, because I don't heard many spouses talk about their addictive partners in the same way that Kevin spoke about Wendy. I believe Wendy kept him around regardless of his affair with this woman. It's just when you have a baby by somebody, now that seals the deal, because the public is aware that Kevin is married to Wendy, but he got another woman pregnant. You can make innuendos and speculations as long as there's no child involved. But once a child comes on the scene, okay, there's no denying what's going on here. You are cheating on Wendy, and Wendy's looking like a fool in the street. And Wendy couldn't have that. So she had to make a move. And I think that was the agreement between the two of them. People have ulterior motives as far as in decisions, compromises, and sacrifices in relationships for whatever reasons. And I think one of their agreements, because when addiction is all about isolation, so you can use, it's all about obsession, it's all about, doing what you want to do to get what you want, which is the drug or the alcohol. Wendy was way over her head with this show, with an addiction. So you have to look at what Kevin is saying and how much truth is coming behind it, because he knew what was going on behind the scenes. He lived it. He lived with it on a daily basis. So Wendy couldn't hide from Kevin what she was doing behind closed doors. It's just all, I think, considering what he could have said about Wendy, and he didn't, I believe he did care for Wendy. Or he cared about that money that Wendy was making. But he has a child with her. I wouldn't believe, I don't want to believe that he didn't love her. He had love for her. He wasn't in love with her, because he's since moved on with this new woman, and they still together. And it sounds like he has a very loving relationship with her, or from his standpoint. I don't know about her, because she ain't in the news, or she's not very prevalent, on social media and talking about the relationship she has with Kevin. But it seemed like he's a different person with him. With her than he was with Wendy. Pissed him off a lot. Because of her addiction. That's a reality. That's not just somebody siding with Kevin. That's just a reality. If you never dealt with somebody with an addiction, you'll never know what it's like to deal with someone with an addiction. Very frustrating, very stressful, very sporadic, unpredictable behavior. Wendy seemed like a nice person on the show, but when she ain't able to do what she want to do in her addiction, she could become a totally different person. So it wasn't easy going for Kevin. So yeah, Kim Pyre put this story out, and I just thought I'll weigh in from a professional standpoint. That is the West Side Gazette reporting. The name of the article is Hunted, the King Behind the Purple Chair of Power. So like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in.